Podcast number 406. Title for today: Why you need a vision for your Airbnb business. What's up, Eric?
What's up, Jasper?
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Awesome, man. I'm doing great. Do you have a good disconnection weekend?
Yeah, man. So we went up to the mountains this weekend. I think it's a perfect topic for this podcast, vision. Once a quarter, I go up to the mountains and fully disconnect, shut off my phone, leave the computer at home. And we just spend hours hiking some intense trails in the mountains and, to go further into our vision and get clear on what we're working on in our business, what we're doing on our life, health, all of that. That really helps me with, staying on track with, all the many different things that we have going on right now. So yeah, the weekend was incredible and I got super clear on our vision.
Any major insights that you want to share?
Oh man, actually I have it here right next to me. I got a little whiteboard and put it on my desk to remind me. I don't know if you could read that.
It's all in your head.
It's all in your head, meaning I recognize I have this as a reminder next to me, because I recognize like going through the day-to-day of growing a business and now growing two businesses. There's a lot that's happening in your mind, and literally it comes down to your decision of believing in that it's possible or it's not possible. So when I recognized, Samantha and I were hiking this pretty intense hike in Idlewild. It's about a 3-hour hike straight up the mountain. And after about an hour and a half, when your brain is telling you that you want to quit, you should just slow down, take a break, turn around. It's too hot. It's too, this hike is too long. It's not worth the journey, blah, blah, blah. You did enough, all this stuff. Once I was able to get through that inner talk, and we got to the summit of where we were going, and it was pretty intense. We got to the summit. We were the only ones up there on the top of this mountain and overlooking all of Idlewild. We're just completely blown away. And I recognize that all the fears and everything that prevents us from achieving what we actually want to achieve is in our head. But then also the opposite of that is like, once I got through that self-talk and I got through like, hey, you're on the journey. This is it. Enjoy it. Get to the destination. That's the whole point of you being here. As soon as we got up there, it was truly incredible. We were like, we could have done that, a second time to get up this way. So on the hike, I just recognized, I'm like, man, everything is in my head. It's either what I'm going to achieve or not achieve is in my mind. So I get to choose which voice I want to listen to and what I want to believe. So yeah, that was one of the many realizations I had on that hike.
Yeah, you've been to Tony Robbins, right? You remember what he always says? Now I am the voice.
Right. Yeah. It does that. It's all in your head. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome, man. Yeah. I mean, I have a similar thing with cycling. I cycled for my birthday last year. I cycled from Barcelona to the French border, which is 218 kilometers, which is, I think, about 135 miles. Mm-hmm. That's the same thing. It's just like so daunting when you start. But then you realize that I just kept thinking like, I just need to move my legs. That's all I need to do, really. Like, I don't need to worry about anything else. As long as I keep moving my legs, I'm going to get there. And that's what it feels like sometimes at work, building these businesses too, right? Where it's like, if you look at everything we're doing, then it becomes really overwhelming. And then, it really helps to just say like, all right, what do I need to do in the next minute or 5 minutes, and just focus on that and forget about the rest, and just move forward with baby steps.
Yeah. And, that's why, again, vision is so important, right? Like Samantha and I built the entire weekend around this one hike that we wanted to do. And, we went to sleep super early Friday night, got up at like 5 a.m. on Saturday, and drove right to the trail. And first ones there, we didn't see anybody on the trail at all. But I recognized, like, as we were going, the vision was to get to, the whole point of us doing this hike was to get clear on our visions, and step away from all the distractions of running a business and social media and the chaos of the world right now, and get on that hike and push ourselves and get to the top of the mountain and just chill and relax and enjoy that. And through it, like, what comes up in your mind is just so freaking hilarious. And I notice it in business too, of like, oh, I don't want to do these calls, or I don't want to deal with this, or I don't want to, this thing keeps happening. So then we stop. And I remember you telling me this about cycling. It's like when you're going uphill, it's like you don't want to stop. Like, you mentally want to stop, but the worst thing you can do is actually pull over to the side of the road. If you're trying to get this huge mountain, to pull over to the side of the road and actually stop cycling, you're like, you got to push through it and get to the top. Otherwise, you're never going to achieve it. And I noticed that when I was hiking this weekend, was like, my mind was telling me all these things. My mind was actually telling me I should go back to the cabin and start working on a few things. And I was laughing at myself. I'm like, the whole point is for me not to work here. And my mind is telling me, like, oh, you got to get those messaging out. You got to check your finances. You got to do this. You got to do that. And once I was able to break through that, after about an hour and a half of just like straight hiking uphill, we both, Samantha and I, recognize this. Our minds got super quiet, and we got to this meditative state where we're walking up this mountain, but we weren't even tied into our bodies. Like, I didn't recognize I was stepping. Like, my mind wasn't there. My mind was completely clear. And the vision of what we're working on when it comes to our property business, I don't know what to call it other than saying, like, it felt like a download coming in, right? It was just like the vision of what we're creating and what we're building with this company was just getting so clear to me. And I'm like, man, that's the stuff that I'm really, really seeking all the time. And it's hard to do that when you're behind a computer and in your office and going through your routine. You got to break out of that stuff to get super clear on your vision. And now it's like, now I'm amped up. I'm amped up to do all the day-to-day in our business, to start building this, because the vision is so clear on what we're creating with our company.
I was just reading a quote that says, "Greatness starts with a clear vision of the future," which I thought was pretty powerful. But also, today is a very special day because we are literally kicking off our next class of Legends X in a few hours, literally in a few hours.
Yep.
And the first thing that our students are going to dive into is building their vision, right? We have about 2 weeks where we dive so deep into work, the vision of the hosting businesses that our students are building. And that's because it's so important to start with that vision, right? Because otherwise if you don't really know what you're building, then it's just hard to build a solid business if you don't know what you're building, because if it's not clear to you, it's not clear to partners, property owners, employees, like any human being you deal with in your business. If you're not clear on what you're trying to build, then they're not going to understand it either, right? So let's touch a little bit on, why is it so important to start with that vision, especially when you're building an Airbnb business?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this a lot. And, one of the last calls that I took for Legends X last week, the individual I was speaking to, when I told him, I'm like, hey, in Legends X, we've kind of flipped the script. We're not going to teach you how to go out and find new Airbnb listings until we get clear on your vision and then get clear on your operations. So we specifically put vision first and work on that first with our students. So then we can get clear on what we have to build and where we're going so we can scale in the right way. And he started laughing. He's like, I don't need a vision. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm successful here. I got these reviews. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And like what I recognize, like even in myself and entrepreneurs, But especially in this space, because in the short-term rental space, we can have quick results. We can get a property, put it on Airbnb, and make money within a couple of hours, right? Which is crazy. And we think that that's all we got to do is just continue to push forward and just take action to make money. And you do, that's super important. But what I recognize is like people, especially in this space, are hesitant to take the time to carve out and really think about what they're building, why they're building it, what is their vision. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we tend to just focus on doing the day-to-day of customer service and whatever reactive task that pops up, and then trying to find a next property because we believe that is what's actually driving our company forward. To me, that stuff comes after us getting super clear on our vision. It's important to do this because first off, we have to understand what we're building, why we're building it, who we're serving, why we're serving them. We got to get clear on that. Otherwise, like what's that famous saying? Like if you serve everybody, you're serving nobody, right? At the end of the day, it's like if you're trying to make everyone please everybody, you're not pleasing anybody because everyone has different demands and focuses and interests, all this stuff. So we have to get clear, especially now in the way that our industry is changing. The guest is changing, the focus is changing, the business models are changing. There's a lot more money. There's a lot more professional brands in this space. So how are you standing out from the crowd? How are you actually bringing something unique to this industry that's going to help you continue to grow? Now, if you're focused on doing like one or two listings, totally cool. Like you may have a vision of like, hey, I want to host people on my home and I want to bring this type of experience to the guest. But if you're like us and you're kind of focused on scaling a short-term rental business, we have to get clear on so many different items within our business, because once we get clear on our vision, then we can understand what actions to take to make that vision possible, right? So it'll help us get clear on what systems to build, what teams to build, what properties to go after, what type of model we want to go after. All of this stuff takes time for sure, but if we carve out the time to get clear on our vision, then it's going to make operations, like the system side of our business, so much easier to implement because we know where to make decisions. Also, on top of that too, is the individual that I was speaking to that was like laughing at, like, I don't need to focus on vision. Like that stuff's not important. Was also the same individual complaining about the amount of time he's spending on customer service, the amount of time he's spending on bookkeeping and all these things in his business. And I'm asking him, I'm like, well, what kind of systems do you have in place? What kind of people? I can't hire people. They can't do what I can do. It's really difficult to hire people. I have these systems, but I have to do it myself. Two challenges come up when we don't have a vision in place. One is when those reactive tasks come up, we look at them as a problem, right? We look at like, oh, here goes another guest complaining about our properties, and it's like, okay, I'm going to deal with this. And then when it comes up again, it's like, oh, not again, another, complaining guest. But if we look at it and say, okay, my vision is to create a world-class hospitality brand in my community that delivers 5-star experiences. When those problems come up, we actually get excited about it because we know that if we can solve this problem and understand what the challenge is, we can build a system and hire somebody to maintain that and improve that part of our business, right? So we look at our problems differently because these problems, once we figure out how to solve them, it's actually fulfilling our vision versus if we're going with no vision, these problems pop up. We just look at them as issues right then and there, and it's always somebody else's fault and blah, blah, blah. The vision helps us understand what systems to build. And then when a problem happens, we see that as an opportunity to solve it to further build our vision. Right. So we can go deeper into all of that stuff, but as a rant, I think that's the most important side is like, let's get clear on our vision. So everything else we can make decisions on how to further build that vision up.
Yeah. And I've noticed a few things when it comes to vision and getting really clear on what you're doing, it's almost like you automatically attract the right people into your business, right? Because it's rare, it's really rare to find people that can be really clear and know exactly what they want and know exactly what they want to build at a business, right? So if you meet somebody who has that clarity, then it's very, there's some attraction. You almost feel attracted to that person, or want to work with that person, right? Because it's so clear and it's so rare that people are.
100%. You attract let's quote Tony again, right? What's his energy? Focus goes where energy flows where focus goes.
Yes, that's
right. Is that the quote? Something like that.
That's the one.
Yeah. So like we attract in what we're putting out into the world, right? The reason why we're able to buy this property, like we were just talking about this, it's like this property that we're purchasing now it got delayed. So about 2 weeks from now, the exact property I was walking through over a year ago with Samantha in Idlewild, walking through this property, envisioning what we can do to that property if we owned it, right? So we were staying at an Airbnb right down the road, and we're walking to town, and we walked past this community that had these cool houses and cabins on it. And we started walking through the property, and I'm like, man, if I own this property, this is what I would do. I would improve it here. I would add it here. I would do this. I would do that. Literally a year from that day to me walking through that property, our offer was accepted on that home, or on that project, right? So it's crazy, because it's like, you know, at that time, a year ago, is when we started building this vision of this property business that we're launching, this investment company. And it took a year for us to realize that vision, to really put into effort. What are we building? Why are we building it? We were patient through the process, right? That's the other thing too, is like people want results now. I was listening to David Goggins this morning, and he was talking about how when he was 300 pounds, he's like 185 pounds now. When he was 300 pounds, he would never be able to hit his goal of being in the shape that he wanted to be in, because he was focused on being 185 pounds when he was 300. And he wanted the result like that. He wanted everything now. And when it wasn't happening now, he would go back to his old habits that kept him on the couch eating donuts. And if you don't know his story, listen to his story. He's got an awesome book called You Can't Hurt Me, I think it is. Awesome audio. But then what he started talking about was like, he got clear on the vision of what he wanted to achieve. And then he just focused and started celebrating on the small little wins that he was getting, and continued to dial in the vision through the process. And before he knew it, he was 185 pounds, right? Running marathons, being a Navy SEAL, all this crazy stuff. And I recognize that with us, right? Like we had a very clear vision of what we're building with this new property brand. And it took a year to really get clear on it. And we're still getting clear on it, but we're taking small actions and attracting in the right people, the right employees, the right properties, the right investors. And now we're like, holy crap, in 2 weeks, we're going to own this property that we're walking through a year ago. So vision is a very important thing. And it's like, it's having the confidence and the patience, having the confidence that you can get it done. And then 2 is having the patience to realize the result there.
Yeah. Yeah. And there were multiple people that put in a bid on this property, right? So the owners, they had kind of a choice who they wanted to sell it to. And that was one of the most important reasons that they chose us, right? Because we were able to deliver a clear vision on what we wanted to do with the property. And that matters, right? Like, actually, this reminds me of, I interviewed a lady who was a social, can't remember the exact name of it, but it's basically what she talks about is social values, and how 80% of people, they did research on this, like 80% of people prefer to buy from a business or work with a business that they feel like align with their values. Right. And that's one thing that we teach in Legends X is, really building out your core values for your business, right? Really figuring out like, what do you actually stand for, and what does your business stand for? And we experienced that as well with our graphic designer, right? Who
Mm-hmm.
literally, when we were hiring a graphic designer, there was one person who, I think she saw the application too late, but she kept reaching out to us. And she was so certain that she wanted to work with us because she went through our core values and she realized, wow, these values, these people have the exact same values as I have. And this is a person in Spain, on the other side of the ocean, grew up in a different country, speaks a different language, but recognizes those core values and just was 100% committed to work with us. And she's still on our team.
She's a rock star too. And, I mean, that's a perfect example. I remember at that time too, like we kind of gave up on trying to hire a graphic designer because all the people we were getting just did not meet who we were looking for. And going back to like how I started this of like that one host who started laughing at the fact of like, I don't need to build a vision. I know what I'm doing type of thing, all ego driven, has the same thought process of it's hard to hire people. Everybody I hire doesn't work hard. They don't work as hard as I do. They don't care about what, the process of my business. And I'm asking, I'm like, well, what's the vision of your company? What are your core values? Who are you trying to attract in? What are we building here at the end of the day? What do you mean, Eric? I'm building a short-term rental business. I'm running properties over here and condos over there and houses over there. And it's like, there's no, yeah, you could be air quote, successful on numbers of like ones and zeros. But if you're trying to scale this and trying to have an impact, first of all, we're in the hospitality industry. It's all people-based, right? If we can't figure out how to attract in the right people to help us drive our vision forward, we're going to disrupt the experience for the people that are staying in our houses. And if we are, and this is a big thing that's happening with our industry that I freaking love, is we're going from heads and beds, right? The whole model of let's get as many units as possible, and just put heads and beds, to let's go small and let's build a brand and let's create hospitality experiences for people, right? Like that's where it started. And then through the last couple of years with rental arbitrage and all this stuff of like, hey, just get as many units as possible, focus on heads and beds, turn them over every 2 to 3 days. It's like that's not what drives this industry, right? So now we're focused on the hospitality side. Going back to Sonia, it's like the reason why we were able to hire a team member like this and she chased us down is because we had a clear vision of what we're doing with overnight success, with Legends X, with Legends Mastermind. We put our heart and soul on the website of this is who we are. This is who we're trying to impact. This is how we're trying to impact them. And these are the values that we stand for. And it aligns with her. And she's like, hey, I want to be a part of this. And now she shows up and holds us to a different level because she's playing at the vision that we set. Right. And it's freaking awesome. Like, it's awesome to come to our meetings every day and hear our team members pushing our vision forward that you and I created over 2 years ago. Right. So it's like creating a vision for any business. And, I know we're talking to short-term rental owners here and business owners, but this is for any business. Mm-hmm. If you have a people problem in your company, let's take a step back and focus on what is the core values of your business? Who are you serving? Why are you serving them? What is your North Star? What are we building here at the end of the day? Because once you get clear on that, then you can start attracting in the people that share the same type of values as you do. And if you can sell the vision to them and get them tied into the vision, we're only going to drive that forward. So if you're having a people problem, step back and focus on your vision and your core values, and that will attract in the people that you're looking for.
Yeah, you made a really good point about our graphic designer, Sonia, who's, like you said, who's a rock star. Hopefully she listens to this podcast too. But yeah, I feel like the reason that she feels comfortable holding us to those standards is exactly because we have those values in place, right? So she knows, like, okay, you guys, this is our culture. This is what we stand for, and we put it on the website, right? So it's very clear, very transparent, like to everybody. And that's really the reason that even though she just, she hasn't been working for the company that long, she already feels comfortable just calling us out and saying like, hey, hold on a second, this is our core value. Are we living up to that right now? right? Yep. And that's exactly what you need in your team, right? People who feel comfortable like voicing that.
Yeah, and you know what's actually this weekend too. After that hike that I just talked about, we went to this new business that was in the center of town there, little wine shop, and we started talking to the owner. And the owner was from LA, new business owner to this town. She just opened up this business. And I was telling her about the vision of what we're working on with this new property. And she got super excited. And she's like, oh, you guys are going to create tiny houses for the hikers that are coming to town or passing through town on this trail. Right. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly who we're targeting. And she's like, oh yeah. And then they want this type of access to these properties, right? You want smaller, they want like she got, because I was clear on who we're serving in that market area, she aligned with them and she started giving me ideas on how to design the properties to serve these guests, right? So now I'm not just having any type of property, or we're not having any type of property in this marketplace. We're super clear on the avatar that we're targeting. And she's like, there's no one here in this town serving hikers that just want to come to town for 2 to 3 days and just focus on being in the mountains versus coming to town for the restaurants and everything else, right? So it's like, this is who we're targeting with our tiny homes. And she knew exactly who I was talking about. She's like, you guys are going to crush it because nobody else is focused on this traveler, and 80% of the people that come to this town are hikers that want to be in the mountains, right? So I'm like, okay, awesome. Now our short-term rental business, the vision is getting clearer and clearer on who we're serving. So now the local businesses recognize it, and then the guests in that area will recognize it. So we're going to stick out from everybody in the marketplace. So it's like, it's worth taking the time to get clear. That's why we spend 2 weeks on the vision side in Legends X. And then, just like how I spent the weekend in the mountains getting clear on my vision or our vision again, it's like, it's the same thing. It's something that we constantly have to work on. Let's get clear on the vision, get super clear on it, and then revisit it on a monthly basis, go deep on a quarterly basis, right? Mm-hmm. You and I and the rest of the team, we go deep on our vision once a year, right? We go deeper and deeper into this. So it's something that we always have to work on. And once you get clear on it, man, it just freaking pumps you up, especially if you're a visual person and you can see it, you can feel it. It's worth the effort to put into it.
It's funny because one of the students from last round actually said something very similar in the feedback on the program. Because when he first joined, he was kind of like the guy that you spoke to on the phone, where he's like, I want to build systems. I need systems. That's what I need. That's why I joined the program. So, like what am I doing with this whole vision module? And then it's funny because I was reading his feedback at the end of the program. And then his feedback was like, well, I knew I had to build systems. I thought that was the first step. I didn't know that there was a step before that I had to go through and had to take before building my systems. And, you always say, you don't know what you don't know. Right. And that was a very clear example of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's powerful. It's powerful.
Yeah, man. Cool. Well, we've been talking for about half an hour. Let's wrap up this podcast. Any final thoughts you want to share on this topic?
No, I just want to, for everyone who's listening, I just want to encourage you guys all just take some time and get clear on your short-term rental business. Like what model, some of the things that we walk our students through is, what business model are you in? Are you scaling a management company? Are you scaling a arbitrage company? Are you scaling an investment company? I know a lot of people they try to focus on all three. They want to try to get everything. We encourage everybody to focus on one model. I think by now everybody knows that we're a huge fan of the management model, and through COVID, recognize that the arbitrage model is not the best model to scale. So we're all in on property management that will then realize into real estate investments, us owning property. but get clear on what business model you're in. Cause let's focus on one thing, and then let's focus on who are we serving as a guest? What travel needs are we solving for them? What properties are they looking for? Condos, houses, boats, whatever it is. And let's just narrow down to that one thing. And then ultimately it's like, where are we going with this? Is this a generational company? Are we going to be passing this on to our kids? Are we building this to sell it in a couple of years for a huge paycheck? Or is this a cash flow business where we just want some cash flow and more lifestyle, right? So doesn't matter which one it is. There's no right or wrong decision. It's only right to you. But let's get clear on that, because then that's going to help us decide what PMS do we need? What pricing tools do we need? What type of team do we need? Like all of that. We don't have to go ham and like go huge on everything. If we want to build a lifestyle business, we're going to focus more on technology. But if we're focused on a generational company to where our grandkids could actually see what we're building today, then we're going to have to build some different systems, and we're going to have to build a different type of team. So yeah, take the time on all of that. And it's going to truly impact what you do with your business. I love it. And I'm excited to dive in today with our next Legends X class on this.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say even for the smaller hosts who are listening now, people that have like 1 or 2 units, even at that level, I think it's really important to ask these questions, right? I always go back to when I first started hosting in Amsterdam. I was just, anybody who wanted to book my place, I was happy until I had this group of 2 elderly couples staying in that place, and they wrote me a review, and they literally wrote like my place was perfect for them. And I was kind of curious. So I contacted them and I was like, what was it that made it so perfect? And then they told me that my apartment had 2 bedrooms, and they were on different sides of the apartment. And there was an outside space in between those rooms, which means that you have a lot of privacy. Like you can't really hear what's going on in the other room.
Right.
I had never thought about that. Right. So then I understood, like, okay, so I need to focus on couples, especially groups of 2 couples. Right. And so I changed my listing, my title, my description, my photos, the communication to gear towards that. And that really helped me increase my prices and just improve my experience, right? My hospitality experience. So even at a micro level, it's really important to ask these questions like, who am I serving? What are their needs? How can I create an experience that's specifically designed to solve the needs for the people that I target?
100%. 100%.
Awesome, man.
Love that.
Sweet. Well, we'll be back next week when we're talking about operations. We're talking about systems, because once you build the vision, we then need to go and build the machine, the systems, and the operations in order to execute on that vision. And that's what we're talking about next week.
That's right. Systems equals freedom.
Systems equals freedom, and systems are sexy.
Systems are sexy. Systems equal freedom. Systems. It's all about the system, brah.
All right, Eric. Thanks for jumping on. And to the listeners, thanks for listening. We'll be back on Monday. See you soon.